First law. An object either remains at rest. Second law. Third law. Second law. First law. When one body exerts a force on a second body,
I like to think that I'm a body in motion. It's hard to describe the, absolute motion of my body through my life. You could, if you were going to plot it on a globe, you could kind of follow me around like a GPS trail, and I might leave little signs for you to find shapes, stars, things like this, but you would see more or less a line moving around, but then when we get more complicated and add in the rotation of the Earth, the expanding universe, the swing of the planet around the sun, and the sun around other things, and it gets pretty complicated. I guess if I were to tell you on average my motion in life, I think the safest thing would just be to say that, I've just been kind of standing still compared to the rest of the universe, and particularly in relation to timing. I'm talking about within the space of 12 to 13 billion years. Maybe I've been here for about 50 of those, so it's definitely inconsequential, and then the movement, when considered in the light of all the other movements, is pretty small. It might not even register as a vibration. So, one thing I was taken with as a child in elementary school, sometimes I would tell the teacher that I didn't feel well. And what I was wanting to do when I said that was just to get out of class and go in the nurse's station and maybe talk to the nurse and lay down. They had these little green vinyl covered, kind of like this real heavy duty green vinyl. It seems like it had a pattern to it. And then it was like a bed, but the back part, you could angle it up in different ways. And there was a couple of these in the nurse's room, and I would lay there, and they had one of those simplex clocks on the wall. And this is one of those big electric clocks. These clocks at schools back then, they were not like the battery-powered or even electric-powered clock you see today that's a one-off clock. These were all networked. Every clock in the school was networked to all the other clocks. And it ended up on the console, the same console that Mr. Olive J. Dodge would give his announcements from in the morning. Mr. Phillips, his other principals, would get on that horn, and they'd press that button, and that console, they could flip different classrooms. If they just wanted to listen into certain classrooms, they could do so. If they wanted to just talk to certain classrooms, they could do so. They had all the power in the world. It's kind of like imagining Paul Atreides and his family in the Dune saga. The power. But one of the buttons there on the console that let you talk into or listen to all these classrooms, there was the simplex control unit for the clocks. And you could adjust every clock in the school from that one location. If you set the time there, they all moved, man. Think about that. Now, the sales rep that sold this to the school board, I imagine it was quite expensive, because there certainly were not network computers at the time. but there were networked clocks. So, hard to believe, but true. The important factor being the movement of the second hand. That second hand, watching it go around, I was struck by the nature of you never could factor out right now, you know? Perhaps. But one of the things that differentiated that type of racing is that it was all about letting off the throttle at certain corners where you would otherwise fly off the corner. And it's, in 1925, Edwin Hubble was looking through his telescope, and his calculations from charting galaxies and their movement and the speed of their movement, he was able to come up with Hubble's law and explain the rate at which our universe was expanding. Expanding into what, you might ask? Well, it's nothing. The expansion is the thing itself. All that is the expansion. Could there be another way of looking at it? Yeah, but it'd be outside of this system. Hubble was a cool guy. He came up with some other concepts. The Hubble radius. That's about 4.5 gigaparsecs, or 14.7 billion light years across. Within this realm of space exists every photon of light that ever could or ever will reach us where we are. Because as the universe expands, there are some places that are moving apart faster than the speed of light. But that is not breaking relativity, because objects cannot move faster in light only with respect to a local reference frame where space-time can be treated as flat and unchanging. It doesn't even remotely apply to situations where the curvature of space-time itself through expansion is changing and manipulating, because it's not expanding into anything, it's just expansion itself.
Welcome to paradise. Welcome to paradise. Welcome to paradise.
First law. An inertial frame of reference. An object. An inertial frame remains at rest. An object continues to move. Either remains at rest. Velocity continues to move unless acted upon by a force. Unless acted upon by a force. In an inertial frame of reference. Second, the vector sum of the forces F in an inertial frame of reference is equal to the mass, the vector sum of the forces of that object, multiplied by the acceleration equal to the mass of the object, of that object. F E multiplied by the acceleration A. It is assumed here that the mass M is constant. F equals M A. Third law. When one body exerts a force on a second body, the second body simultaneously exerts a force equal when one body exerts a force on a second opposite in direction on the first body. The second body simultaneously an object either remain at rest or continue to move in opposite direction on the first unless acted upon by a force. Second law. In an inertial frame of reference, the vector sum of the forces F on an object is equal to the mass M of that object.
F equals